The new head coach of the Los Angeles Chargers is on the phone line. His name is Brandon Staley. How are you, Coach?
Thanks so much for having me, Rich. Doing great.
Excellent. Thank you for being here on the program. Okay, let's get right into it here. When did you first know that you were winding up on the Chargers radar screen, Coach? When did that first come about for you?
Rich, I think later in the season. I think towards the back half of it, you kind of become aware that you may have a chance to compete. That you're a name that is on people's radars. But I think we were in the thick of things. So I didn't know if that interest was serious or not. But I knew that we were having a great run. So I knew that there was a potential possibility that maybe I could get some interviews. But I didn't know I didn't have a strong sense at that point whether or not it could become a reality.
And now here it is, a reality, and part of the job, obviously, the large responsibility is to help Justin Herbert continue rolling on the manner in which he rolled on. And the funny thing is, I'm sure as you would attest, so many people are like, well, why are you hiring a defensive coordinator when you got to have Justin Herbert? But you're a quarterback first and foremost, are you not, sir? Correct?
Yes, sir. Yeah, that's what I played, and I feel like that's how I coach. I coach, through the eyes of that position, and I feel like that's been the, kind of the hallmark of my defensive coaching career for sure. And I think what I'm so excited about, Rich, is now being able to, help all three phases of the game, but specifically, our quarterback, who, as everyone knows, is really, really unique and really special.
Yeah, I mean, to go from James Madison to John Carroll to the Bears to the Broncos to the Rams to the Chargers. I mean, you've had a lot of different uniforms that you've worn over the last couple of years. What do you make of this journey, Brandon? Do you sit back and wonder about how you've ascended so quickly in the coaching profession? Did you take that minute?
Rich, I think there's I think what it represents for me is just a purpose that I've tried to compete with really my whole life, but just trying to earn as many opportunities that are going to help my game overall, and where I can, become the best version of myself. That's been something that I've been really intentional about since I was a little kid. And I think, you never know what your path's going to be. You just got to be ready for the path, and that's what I've tried to do, is take advantage of the opportunities that I've been given, and just try and really work at my game. So hopefully, when you do get an opportunity like this one, that you're ready for it. And I think, my path may not make sense to people on the outside, but I think to me and the people that are close to me, it makes perfect sense.
How does it make perfect sense to you and everyone close to you? Walk me through that. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, I just think that all the experiences I had working, really just as a kid all the way up, and a lot of personal stuff, and then just the professional side of things. I was able to have a global lens of the game, coaching every position on defense, being a former quarterback, having access to the NFL where you're in college, but you kind of have this double education going. And I felt so close to the NFL my whole career. It's not like I just started, learning about the NFL 4 years ago. I mean, it's been a dream of mine to coach in this league for a long time, and I was working at it so that, if I did get an opportunity, that I would be ready for it. And I think along the way, all those experiences at those schools that you mentioned, they helped shape me as a leader, as a coach. And, I think that when I got to the NFL right away, I knew, hey, I have the stuff to be able to take it, a long way here and do it at a high level.
Brandon Staley, L.A. Chargers head coach, new head coach here on the Rich Eisen Show. How did you first get on Vic Fangio's radar screen? How did that happen for you?
Yeah, so, a good friend of mine, Dave Ragone, who just got the offensive coordinator job with Atlanta. Dave, was a quarterback for the Houston Texans, and when Vic was the D coordinator, so their relationship went back a ways, and then they hooked up together in Chicago when Dave was the quarterback coach. And, Vic was looking for a young outside linebacker coach that he could kind of groom. That's the position that he coached. And Dave and I are Cleveland guys. We're both from the same neck of the woods, and, one of our best friends was my head coach at John Carroll, and he knew that the defense that we had been running, I patterned a lot of it after Vic's defenses in San Francisco. A lot of our teach tape, a lot of the stuff that I had, tried to incorporate was from Vic. I just had so much respect from afar. And, Dave knew that, and he felt like, that it could be a really good fit. And when I was able to get in front of Vic, just certainly an opportunity of a lifetime. And, he means so much to me.
And, in your second year there in Chicago, out of the sky comes Khalil Mack. Then you follow Vic to Denver, and there's Von Miller. And then you go to the Rams, and there's Aaron Donald. And now you're here, and there's Joey Bosa. That doesn't happen, right, usually?
One of my favorite people is Ed Donatel, and he reminds me of that often. He reminds me of that often, and he stays with it. He doesn't ever let me forget it. So you're the great fortune you have, and at the same time, Rich, as you also know, you have great responsibility when you're coaching guys like that. So I think that's been such a blessing for me, is to be around guys like that, because I've learned a lot more from them than they've probably learned from me.
So, and then interesting, part of the reason why I want to find out about how you wound up on Fangio's radar screen is, I was looking up because, Coach, this might be our first conversation. I am a lead pipe wielding professional, so I like to be prepared. I found out Joe Lombardi and you go way back. I'll be honest with you, I've not heard of Mercyhurst before I hit the Google machine, but is that where you guys is that where you know him from? He was your coach when you were the quarterback there? Is that it?
Yeah, I played 4 years at Dayton, Rich. Started there and was captain, and then after our mom passed away, I have a twin brother who played at Mercyhurst, and we just kind of said, hey, we're going to join up for our fifth year and play together. So I went to Mercyhurst, and I didn't know who Joe was at that time, but he was my offensive coordinator and quarterback coach, and that really started an amazing relationship. I learned so much from him that year, and then just when he went to the NFL, just always stayed in touch, and that was a way that I stayed connected to the NFL, and I felt like I was learning the game through the eyes of Drew Brees, as a young guy, and I'm just so thankful for him, and now we get to team up together. It's really special.
It is. I mean, it's crazy. He's your offensive coordinator, your head coach in the NFL in Southern California, which didn't even, wasn't even on the Chargers' radar screen, let alone maybe the NFL's when you were going through your first experience with Joe. It's unbelievable, Brandon. That's crazy.
Yeah, it is. It's like I said, I think I'm hopefully an example that dreams come true, and that hopefully if you surround yourself with good people, everyone says that, but, if you do that and you do it with the right way, with a lot of purpose and a lot of care, that good things can happen.
Okay. Brandon Staley, LA Chargers head coach here on the Rich Eisen Show. So is it safe to then say that what we saw, the offense of Sean Payton's and obviously what Joe Lombardi is able to put together, is what you are putting into place here in Los Angeles for one of the most talented rookie quarterbacks we've ever seen? Is that a safe assumption?
Yeah. Well, I think certainly our foundation with the way we want to play is New Orleans. I think that what we're going to do and why I'm so excited to team up with Joe is that he has a really large inventory, to work with to shape this offense around Justin. And I think that was what was special about interviewing Joe for this role was just, knowing how they shaped that offense, Sean and Pete Carmichael for Drew, and making it uniquely Drew's. And, now we have this opportunity to shape a new offense around Justin Herbert because, Justin and Drew are very different players. Drew's first ballot Hall of Famer, one of the best quarterbacks to ever throw a football and lead a team. But Justin is different than he is. And so our offense has to look different. And I think that that's what we're so excited about, is being able to shape it, around him, but also knowing that, hey, one of the premium offenses in the NFL of the last 15 years, that's going to be our starting point. So, I'm excited for Joe and Justin to connect, and we're going to put a fantastic staff around him. And as you know, it's a team game. It's us being able to, put a team together in all three phases. And, but I think that, as you said, Justin Herbert is an awfully good place to start, and I'm excited for him and Joe to team up.
Then Los Angelinos had a front row seat to your defense this year and how shut down it was and how remarkable it was. And now, is that the type of defense and the scheme that we're expecting to see? You hired Ronaldo Hill from the Broncos staff, who I'm assuming you knew from your days there. How can we draw a through line based on what we saw here in Los Angeles for the co-tenants of your same home, Brandon?
Yeah, absolutely, Rich. I'm so excited to team up with R. Hill. As you know, 10-year vet, and was a tremendous player in the league, a former seventh-round pick that played over a decade in the NFL, and his experience, his knowledge, and then having that foundation in our scheme with Vic. I'm excited to team up with him and our other coaches. We've got a really special staff that we're forming here, and certainly the foundation, Rich, will be those tenants that you saw. But again, that team that we had with the Rams, it's going to be, it's different than the one that we have here with the Chargers. So, but I think those staples, those foundational pieces will definitely be there. And that's why I think, Rich, when you look at it from a total team perspective, the way we play on offense and the way we play on defense, they match up. And I think that that's so important. The teams that stand the test of time, they align in all three phases, and that was really important to me in this process.
Well, Brandon, I don't think I'm telling any tales out of school with you, since you were also right here in Los Angeles, and you might be an observer of this, but I have to ask this question on behalf of all Chargers fans. I don't know if you've noticed, but a lot of Chargers games end weirdly. They're kind of weird. They kind of go sideways, and a lot of those times are because sometimes their coaches have some clock management issues or decisions that are made in the final 2 minutes. It's your first head coaching rodeo. How do you plan to game plan for stuff like that? Like, what's your preparation that you can put out on the table here that can maybe ease some of the Chargers fans' jangled nerves when the clock hits 2 minutes in a tight game for them?
Yeah, Chris, I think that, Rich, I think it's such a great point.
Thank you.
You have to surround yourself with a team of teams, on your staff. You have to have a line of communication that connects all three phases of the game, and then you have to have, you have to tie in your analytics and your coaching staff together. I think that what this movement in the last 5 to 7 years has kind of expressed is that it's really about decision making, and not that you're going to make a perfect decision, but that you can live with your decision making process. And there's so many decisions that happen quickly that you can actually be ahead of if you prepared for them during the week. You can kind of, those things. And I think that that's where the NFL has really changed in the last 5 to 7 years. And I think us just having a very consistent and streamlined way of communicating on game day is a great place to start. And I think that our staff and our setup will represent that. And, as my first time as a head coach, Rich, that you don't do it alone. And that's why, leaning on the experiences of our coordinators, of our analytics, personnel department, we just have to, put together a really, sharp setup and one that, doesn't just show up on game day, Rich.
Yeah.
It's a part of every day with the Chargers. It's set up like that. So, these things that happen aren't happening for the first time when it's live.
Well, I guess, in that respect, like, do you game out analytics to the point where, like, let's just say it's 4th and goal from the 8-yard line and you're down 8. And you choose to kick a field goal instead of allowing your quarterback to go for it on 4th and 8 against Tom Brady. I'm just throwing these things out there.
Yes,
do you make the decision?
Really
do you make
man.
that decision to kick the field goal, or do you go for it, Brandon Staley? What do you do?
Well, number one, I love the creativity there. You just kind of imagine that situation.
I'm just plucking things out of the air. You know what I mean? I'm just plucking things.
So, and I can sense that maybe there's a rhetorical nature to that question.
No, how about this though? No, but how about this though? How about this though? Because if I'm not mistaken, didn't Sean McVay against Tom Brady and the Bucs turn it over to your defense to close it out this year? Didn't that happen this year? If I'm not mistaken,
he did. And we did close it out.
Yes, you did. And I remember thinking to myself, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is actually happening. It's so rare to see that. But that's so. I guess you would.
Yeah, I think
leave it to your defense then.
No, I think. Listen, I think that number one, as you know, there's just so much respect for people around the league, right? You're never gonna, judge or sort of the advantage of hindsight, as we all know. But I think that in that circumstance, even if you've studied in the last couple of days the actual analytics of that decision, it wasn't like it was like a no-brainer. If you really study what the people have, at least what I've read, it's not like it was like a no-brainer decision either way. I think it was a tight one, and I think it just kind of depends on probably what your position is. And I think that in that moment, with Justin Herbert, you'd love to give him a chance to compete. And then if it doesn't go down, you got 3 timeouts in the 2 minutes. They got 92 yards to go. It probably affects their aggressiveness because of their field position, and then hopefully you can get the ball back with good field position and a chance to finish it.
Before I let you go, Brandon Staley, as you know, it's a full house there in SoFi. You went from the Rams to the Chargers. I don't know if you're aware, but NFL Network is coming there in 2021. So I have to ask you, and I know that this is precious real estate with a head coach in the NFL, but it's important to me. How's the parking there? Is it good?
Hey,
the parking situation?
Rich, I've got to be totally transparent. I took the bus down there every single day, did not drive down
Come on.
time. So I have no ability to assess that question. Zero. I just know that it's an awesome venue.
Okay. So you know that, but in terms of you can't assess the parking situation. So that mean I can
and I can't assess the traffic, pandemic, no clue about like real LA traffic. I can't comment on that either.
Right.
So I'm a poor resource when it comes to that.
Okay. So who gets the spot next to the stadium? You or McVay? I mean, let's be honest now. What do you think? Who gets that spot?
Well, maybe we can shoot some free throws for it this summer.
Are you a good free throw shooter too? Is that what you're saying, Coach? Is that what you're saying?
I'm just saying maybe there's ways we could figure it out.
Okay. Well, always competing. I understand. But if you see my spot, if you see my car there, just understand, I've been around the NFL about 18 years. So
I got to tell you this, Rich, too. My twin brother is besides you, is one of the biggest Michigan fans in the world.
Growing up in Ohio?
Yeah. So our high school coach played at Michigan for Bo, though. So our high school, fight song was the Victors. I'm
liking you even more, Brandon.
So my brother, wanted me to give the big shout out and the Go Blue. So
right back at him. Thanks for the call, Coach. Appreciate it. Hope this is first of many times. Appreciate the call.
Yeah, thank you so much, Rich.
You got it. That's Brandon Staley.